Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on our webinar today. I appreciate that so many folks are uh, logging in on time. I know that you all have very, very busy days, but we also want to make sure that for folks who may have back-to-back meetings or overlapping meetings, that they have an opportunity to join as well. So what we'll do here is we'll start at the 2 past the hour mark. Hopefully that's an okay compromise. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time here, but just a little bit of housekeeping. I wanted to let you all know that we do have the chat active. So if you wanted to hop in there, say hello, share what the weather's like in your part of the world, anything else that you want to talk about. Hopefully you don't have a gas leak like one of the folks that we have here at Quid, who's helping to manage the back end of our webinar over here. Yeah, hopefully you're all having a great day so far. We've got a Fireflies note taker. Okay, we have to be on our best behavior, folks. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start the screen share here so that we can get things ready. Dallas, Texas. Hi, Kerrigan. How's it going? Weather's nice. That sounds great. I'm hoping that everyone else, Darren, Ariana, how's the weather where you guys are?
We had what Seattle considers a heat wave. We were under a heat warning because we got above 85, which is really a lot for Seattle. But we're back down to our comfortable high 60s, low 70s.
Uh, it is 101 degrees where I am. So if I
Holy
melt
smokes.
in the middle of this call, then you guys will know why.
All right. Well, hopefully we're able to keep you don't collapse out of heat stroke or geez, we've got extremely hot weather in one part of the world. We've got someone with a gas leak. Hopefully the webinar goes along much more smoothly than just the things that are happening in the background for you all. But since it's 2 minutes past the hour, I want to go ahead and get us started. Thank you all for joining us on our webinar today. What's new in Quid, our trends leaderboard, popular videos, Q Agent, and MCP. I'm Harvey Raniola. I'm the head of marketing here at Quid, but the two most important people today are our featured speakers, Darren Russell, our senior product manager, and Ariana Patrick, our solutions engineering lead. Welcome to the webinar, ladies. Really pleased to have you on board, and always fun to have a webinar with you guys. In terms of our agenda today, for the folks who are not familiar with Quid, we're going to give you a brief overview. After that, we'll get into the meat of our webinar. So setting the context around talking about what Quid Terminal is. Then we'll go into our popular videos Q Agent, our trend leaderboard, our Quid MCP in that order. And then we'll go into our Q&A. And like I mentioned earlier, our Q&A is open, so feel free to pop your questions into that widget. Also, keep an eye on the chat. So if there's anything that comes up over the course of the webinar, I'll be sure to call the attention of the speaker to try and interject with your question so that it's relevant and timely. But otherwise, if we're not able to get to it, we'll hold off until the end of the webinar. So we're targeting roughly 30 minutes for the content of our webinar today. If you're not familiar, and if you haven't had a chance to download it yet, we do have our quarterly State of Consumer and Market Intelligence report. We are going to be publishing a new one in a couple of weeks, but while you wait for that, we do have this quarter's version available for you in our resources section, where we post content every week, at the very least one blog post, if not more than that. So I do encourage you, take a look at our resources section, keep an eye on that. There's always a lot of really good stuff that we're publishing there. All right, so if you're not familiar with Quid, we've been in the consumer and market intelligence space for the last 20 years. So we have been a leader in this space. We've had the opportunity to work with a number of great organizations globally through different industries and different use cases. And at the heart of what we do is our proprietary AI. We've been developing these AI data sets and enabling folks to be able to extract insights that are relevant to their functions and allow them to be able to act on them to be able to achieve their business objectives. And not only that, we couple our AI with our internal subject matter experts who've been working on a lot of these very topical and very specific areas for years. So you get the benefit of both worlds. Like I mentioned, we've worked with a number of great brands across different industries all over the world. And really at the root of what we do is the data that we've invested very heavily in. We want to ensure that you have the coverage that you need, you have the context that you need, so that we can narrow it down and make it relevant for your context. You can see that we have consumer data, we've got market data, we've got product and service reviews, And if you don't see something on the screen right now that is relevant to your business, we can certainly integrate any data source that you would like into our tools and our AI for you to be able to analyze, to extract additional insights into, and really aggregate to give you the full picture around your market. And how Quid works with you is, like I said, at the foundation is our data, as well as our proprietary AI, and also obviously our people. But more importantly is the context around that. You can have a ton of data that you have access to, but without that context, without understanding what you're trying to achieve as a team, as a business, the insights that you're able to pull from this kind of data may not be relevant for you. And really, we want to be able to work with you to understand what your objectives are, to ensure that when you are getting these insights from our briefs or through any of our tools, or even through the MCP and LLMs that you may be plugged into, that they're relevant to what your day-to-day is and your broader business objectives. And really, we want to be able to work how you work and where you work. We want to be able to help out your marketing, your sales, your product, and your strategy teams, whether it's through, you have a couple of icons that you can see on the screen right here, whether it's through Teams, through Slack, through Quid Terminal. We enable you to be able to access these insights regardless of your role, regardless of your technical expertise and your level of comfort. And really, over the last year, what we've done is we've flattened the learning curve to be able to access these insights to where it's essentially zero. And so anyone can go in there and be able to pull relevant insights to their role and to be able to take action on them. So I'm going to go ahead and hand things off to Ariana, who's going to tell us a little bit more about our Quid terminal. So Ariana, off to you.
Thanks, Harvey. We can go one more slide too. Awesome. So I'll be walking you guys through Quid Terminal today. You can think of Quid Terminal as sort of the AI layer that sits on top of that massive data lake that Quid's ingesting. Harvey shared that slide of all the data that Quid is connected to and collecting. That's 2 petabytes of data. Petabytes was a new word for me when our product and engineering team shared that with me. So rest assured, it's a lot of data that we're sitting on. But obviously, as Harvey was saying, having that much data honestly can be overwhelming and not very helpful unless you know how to segment it, know what questions you want to ask, and kind of apply your team's goals, your team's context, your personal roles context on top of that data. So that's where Quid Terminal comes into play. We load all of that data that we segment for you so that you can interact with it in natural language. You'll do that via chat, which we call our Ask Quid or Ask Q chatbot, and then agents, so via our Q agents. And all your outputs are going to be tailored to your team's goals. So I will steal the share from you, Harvey, and get into it to show you guys what that looks like.
Go for it.
Okay. And if you see me looking off, it's because I've got 2 screens here. So, okay. So what you're looking at here is Quid Terminal. Again, you can think of this as sort of your go-to hub for speedy insights. It's built to surface insights that normally would take hours of manual work. I can attest to that. My background before I was in solutions was on the services team here at Quid. I started my career as a social listening analyst, and very familiar with sort of all the manual work that needed to be done in this space to get to actionable insights. Terminal is such a welcome addition, being able to kind of embrace the age of AI. So everything here is powered by Quid AI, and that's going to be grounded in your specific business context. So at a high level, Quid AI can help you organize and connect large volumes of data based on meaning, not just keywords. So if I ask about things like, right now we're going to be working in our beauty and personal care insights demo terminal, so all things beauty. If I ask a question about lip gloss, In the ways that we used to work, you had to think of every single way and terminology that people talked about lip gloss. Now, with the power of semantically indexing those data sets, when we query and we ask about lip gloss on the back end, we take care of all the ways to expand those keywords into all the different ways consumers might be talking about lip gloss, referring to lip gloss. So you don't have to think about all the iterations of those terms. Another really unique thing about Quid Terminal is at the top, you'll see the priority outcome. So this is our context hub up here. Your priority outcome sort of defines the lens that AI uses so that every insight is going to be tailored to your team's goals. And they can be adjusted on the fly as well. So if you're working on different projects, your goal for what you're analyzing day-to-day changes, you can very easily just edit these on the fly. For today, I'll show you what context settings I have set up. I'll be role-playing as a marketing leader at Ulta Beauty, and my priority outcomes are around turning consumer signals into revenue-driving decisions. I want to act faster than the competition, and I want to be sure that my trend calls and my campaigns are consistently paying off. So that's my personal goal. I have my marketing team's priorities over here on the right side. So as a marketing team in general, what do I care about? What does our team care about? And then in addition, you have company context. So this is where we feed our every interaction that you have with your data, the context of, well, what is Ulta? Who is Ulta Beauty? What do they care? What do they care about? Brand and voice guidelines, how do they speak, right? So the way that Ulta Beauty shows up on their social channels, that's going to be very different from, let's say, a Bank of America. You guys are not going to want the same type of recommendations for a caption output or the way your CEO might post on LinkedIn. So we can take into account your brand and voice guidelines when we're making recommendations around content. And then we also have the context of your competitors. So all of this information, every time that you're interacting with your data, is being taken into consideration so that you're not just getting generic outputs, you're really getting insights that are tailored to your team and take into consideration your team and your roles context. In addition, below that, you'll see our intelligence metrics and data freshness. So our models are updating daily, which means you're always working with the most current information. And then from there, Terminal kind of splits into two workflows. So we've got Ask Q, which is our on-demand chatbot. And then we have Q agents down below. So Q agents sort of help automate those more time-sensitive, repetitive parts of analysis. So you can really move faster and focus on deeper interpretation and strategy. You'll see we've got 35 agents here and counting. This is our agent library. We are releasing new agents, it seems, by the week. Our product team is very efficient. They're working very hard on getting us awesome, cool new agents every week. And really the thought process behind agents, again, like coming from the analysis background, we know that there's certain workflows and questions that all brands and agencies have, right? They want to read on sentiment. They want to read on what's going on in any given industry. They're curious about, how they're showing up on any given social channel. So for these repetitive use cases that we just know come up over and over again, we've built agents for all of these different workflows. And so today, we're going to spend time on one of our newest agents, which is the popular videos agent. It's so cool. This agent, it basically changes, or it kind of helps change the way that brands can understand what's happening in culture. Another way that we do that is going to be something that Darren talks about next. So I'll give a little commercial for that. But basically, the popular videos agent, it's an AI-powered research agent that's going to automatically discover, collect, and then analyze the most popular videos across TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and X. I still want to call it Twitter, but I call it X. So all in one place without any manual like searching or scrolling. I don't know how many times I've heard from strategists of their main way of mining popular video insights is by scrolling themselves on TikTok and trying to get a sense of what's trending. I've heard people create dummy profiles because they want to get out of their algorithm and kind of understand like what's going on in video trends outside of just what's being served to them. So this is part of the solve for that problem. And again, it's not just on TikTok, but it's across TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and X. So I'll click into this agent just to show you how quick it is to use these agents. What you do is you give it a topic, a brand, a cultural moment. It's going to go out across all 4 of those platforms that I mentioned, pull the top performing videos, and then come back with a structured brief. So I'll kind of run this agent and I'll show you what that looks like. We're working with beauty. So let's say my subject is around invisible makeup. I want to know what's going on in the last month, what's trending in invisible makeup is my question. Here we go. One thing that we consider too on terminal is who can access, right, the insights that you're running. So if you wanted to lock this down and have it just be you as a user who can see these insights, you can set those restrictions here on who can see these insights. And another great thing about our agents is you can always schedule them to recur as frequently as you want on sort of a repetitive frequency. So if I wanted to understand this daily, weekly, serve me up every Monday morning what's going on in invisible makeup that's trending in terms of videos, I can set that here. And then these insights are just automatically pushed to you, both published to your terminal and you're sent an email. So that's really exciting too. So I'm not going to schedule a delivery for today, but that's how you would do it. And I'll click create brief, and then let's go look at the output. So here you're seeing the structured brief. It's telling me what's trending, what are the themes that are emerging, who's driving the conversation, what kind of narratives are resonating with audience. One thing here, it's not just finding videos and analyzing captions. It's reading the video, understanding it. So you'll see throughout here, we're not just bringing through takeaways and insights around captions, but what are the visual patterns? Like, what's the hook in this video that's getting people to stop scrolling and pay attention? What are the audio patterns? How are people talking? What's the sound that's applied on this video that are getting people to stop and pay attention? So it's a really holistic view of both caption level insight as well as visual and audio patterns that are coming through with videos. And again, today, I think most teams are doing this manually. Someone's scrolling TikTok, someone's searching YouTube. You're kind of stitching it together in a deck that can take hours, sometimes days. You'll see on the top right of all of our briefs up here, we have the estimation of the hours saved. I think our product team underestimated this one. It would take me a lot longer to get to these insights. But you can see how we're, again, just with that one input, one click of a button, we're getting an entire brief that's showing us insights around invisible makeup across TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. I clicked into this one earlier because I was like, well, that doesn't look like invisible makeup. She's got blue eyeshadow on, right? And it's pulling out that this is kind of becoming like a tongue-in-cheek trend. Like this is more of like a satirical video on invisible makeup. So that's something where, if I'm an analyst and I'm scrolling and I'm seeing someone with blue eyeshadow, like I'm not thinking that that's invisible makeup. I'd scroll right past it. But we're able to pick up how people are talking in videos, and just down to those moments of culture of what's becoming a joke, like what's becoming funny on the internet. So you can have that whole picture when you're thinking about how maybe you want to act on this trend. And again, we're covering it for YouTube, Instagram here, and Twitter. talking about all the different visual and audio patterns. And we always give you kind of an executive overview with our brief as kind of like a quick go-to spot for insights. One other thing I want to show you when it comes to Quid, we always, again, are grounding things in your company's context. We want to give you actions of what you can do with this information. So I can come over here to ask Quid on the brief. And let's say I'm at Ulta and I want to act on this trend. I want our creators to make videos about invisible makeup. I'm going to say, make me a playbook with guidelines to share with our creators, around 5 TikTok videos. So right now it's looking at the information we collected in the brief. It's looking at our context hub of all of the context that we've fed it. And now it's coming up, here's a 5-video content set of how to take into consideration both how Ulta wants to show up on the internet and then what is organically resonating with audience here. So really showing speed to insight here, whether you're kind of a brand trying to jump on a trend, an agency who's building content strategy, comms team who might be monitoring a cultural narrative. This agent kind of really gives you the what's happening right now answer backed by, that massive data lake that we're ingesting. So you can really take action based on the whole picture, not just a gut feel. I think one of my favorite quotes from a client once was, this gives us the ability to act on data instead of vibes. I think for so long, marketing plans and decisions around what to post kind of had that element of a shot in the dark. And so we really want to give you data-backed insights to make those decisions. So there we go. That is our popular videos agent. Another way to kind of keep up with the speed of culture is going to be our trends dashboard, which Darren is going to show you next.
Darren, before you hop in,
Yeah.
we did have a question that came in, or a couple of questions that came in actually, there's one more question that came in, all from Daniela, specifically about Ariana's section. So, one, are the trends detected at a global level, or can we localize the analysis specifically for Latin America? So this question's from Daniela. Actually, the next 2 questions are as well.
Cool. I love questions, Daniela. That's a great one. And yeah, we can apply geography filters to our agents. So if you're curious about just a specific set of countries, a region, we can layer in that filter and you can direct the agent to any set of countries or specific countries you'd be interested in, as well as bringing in like language ability too. So if you just wanted to analyze videos that were occurring in Spanish and you wanted the output in English, let's say, you're considering launching a Spanish, a product that's going to go to a Spanish audience, but you want the insights to refer back to your team in English, we can do that as well.
Awesome. All right. In the interest of time, I actually see a question here from you, Daniela, about how we can estimate or whether or not we can estimate how long the trend is likely to remain relevant or when it may peak. I think that's a good segue into Darren's section. So thank you for setting us up there. And also, Ariana, thank you for presenting your part of the webinar. I know that we're going to see you again later on.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you. I know I saw that question come in and I was like, oh, that's good to answer on the trend leaderboard. So it's a good fit. Great. Well, really excited to walk you guys through a new functionality we have within Terminal here, which is our trend leaderboard. And like Ariana was doing, I always kind of like to ground us in a customer, like who we are and what we're trying to solve. Generally, I think people come in and they ask really broad questions like what's happening on the internet or what's happening on social media. And most of us are working with a particular role, a particular brand or multiple brands. So we want to hone in on what's relevant to one. Healthcare trends, gaming trends might not be relevant to another that's interested in, say, beauty. So what we have here is our trend leaderboard. This is initially sourced from TikTok trends, but then we do a lot of expansion on that that I'm going to chat through and show you guys in just a second here. But we have, as of this morning, I think 20 different categories that we're tracking trends for and counting. I did see a question in the chat around regions. And so right now, these are primarily focused on US and Japan. I think we also have one in the UK here, but it's fairly easy to add them in for other regions. So when we have interested customers, we can add in new areas. So what I'm going to focus on today then, to stick with our Ulta analogy, is beauty and personal care. So I want to see what is trending in beauty and personal care. You can look back over the last 7 days. This is always something we can go further back if we want to set up something for your instance. To walk through what you're seeing here, these are the top 200 trends for that category for that day, sourced from TikTok. Now, why do we start with TikTok? What we found is when we were doing research around a lot of different platforms, that initial trend like origination tends to happen from TikTok, and then it's validated across other sources and other platforms. So I think there's a pretty classic joke, right? Is like once it's an Instagram reel, it's already been on TikTok for weeks, if not longer. So we really help kind of stay on top of that for you without you having to spend the time scrolling. So again, you work at Ulta, you want to understand what's trending in beauty and what, if anything, you should do about it. So we're taking these top 200 hashtags and then we're enriching them with a lot of different data that you can act on. So there are things like scoring, summarization, insight extraction, and concepts. I'm going to take you through all of it. But I really think what's important to think about is just knowing that something is trending is not enough. Like you need to know what that hashtag means, what it's referring to. You need to see solid examples. You need to know who, what, how, why it's being discussed in that particular context for you to act effectively. And so that's what we really help you accomplish here at Quid. So when I was scrolling through this and seeing kind of what stood out to me, it was really interesting. One of the things that I landed on here was sensitive skin. So let me talk through quickly first what columns that we're looking at. And the first two are trend status here and trend score, and they're really related. And this basically takes into account both the volume of posts, but also popularity and momentum and direction. So not only is there a high volume of content, but is it growing? Has it been growing recently? Is it still growing? By how much? Has it passed its peak? So all of that goes into this formula that we use to come up with a trend score here. And then based on that score, we give it an easier classification status. So is this something where it's growing? We think it's a good time to lean in. This is something that is evergreen. You can sustain your presence there. People are always going to be talking about fragrance, about curly hair, about makeup tutorials. This is something that we saw, but is kind of declining now. So things about road skin or men's fragrance, we're just not seeing as much conversation around that at this point in time. Or things that might be a fad, which I guess we don't have in this category. Do we have it in another? Nope, no fads for the 25th that you would want to skip. And actually, I think I should caveat myself of just because something is a fad doesn't necessarily mean that you don't want to pay attention to it. It totally depends on your role and the kind of action you're trying to take. So a fad is something that has like a very short, brief spike. And if what you're trying to do is post social content that day and you don't need to go through lots of levels of permissioning before you can get that out there, you just want to be on it, then seeing something that is a fad might actually be helpful for you. So that's why we let you go through these filters to look at the different kind of categorization that you care most about. So that's trend status and trend score. We'll tell you if that's changed. Like, is there something that we're seeing a particular rise with lately, or has it been hot for a while here? How many posts it has in this 7-day period, how many posts it has overall in its lifetime, how many views it has within the last 7-day period, what week over week change that represents. We'll also go ahead and share that visually for you so that it's easy to kind of, like for me, I think looking at this and being able to see, oh, okay, I can understand why there's been this recent kind of peak. This is something that I want to look into more. And then total lifetime post views for that hashtag as well. So, and you can interact with this too to see like, when was this? Oh, early June, kind of get a sense of that timeline. So looking through here, I see something interesting with sensitive skin, and we'll go ahead and give you some clues as to what's going on within that, some of the entities that we found and what's happening in that discussion. So I click on that. we'll tell you what the summary is. So things like product recommendations, specific routines, like what does this mean? We do the work, we do that video analysis that Ariana was just showcasing to be able to tell you what hashtag sensitive skin really means within this context. Then you can go ahead and create a brief if you want to dive deeper and generate a full report. We're going to help you take action, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Before you're deciding if you want to take action, we'll show you what some related posts are. You can always click out to view the original content if you want. We're very much a glass box approach here. If you want to see the original source of truth, we will make it easy for you to get there. We want you to trust us, but if you want to go double check it, like, you are absolutely welcome to do that. So lots of transparency. And then this that I actually think is the real, like a really strong differentiator when it comes to trend analysis. So we'll go ahead and we'll run through all of that content to detect attributes that are showing up with that trend. So that might be concepts. So things like when they're talking about sensitive skin, there's a lot of discussion around a routine, a sensitive skin routine, or things like hydrating or hydration in here. We can share specific scenarios. I think routine also falls into that. PM or bedtime skincare routine. If there are specific retailers or brands that are being mentioned, we can go ahead and pull that out for you. Specific products that are mentioned, and then emotions, like what are the emotions or particular attributes that are being sparked within this conversation. So things like glowy or soothing, gentle, that they would ascribe to it. Then we have demographic information of people who are viewing this content. So not posting it, but like all those thousands or millions of views associated with the trend, who's really interested in it. We can give you that age group information right in here. And then those key metrics that we were looking at, kind of a summarization below. So I've looked through, as somebody working at Ulta, this sounds interesting to me. We obviously have a lot of sensitive skin products. What is the angle that I need to be like phrasing it as to appropriately position it on my website or to write about it in social? So what we can do is go ahead and generate a trend brief here. So if you go ahead and click create trend brief, kind of a similar version to what we just saw with Ariana, we've got the trend, you can choose who can access it, and then go ahead and click to create the brief, and we will send you an email to your inbox. And then if I have time, I will show you real quick what that looks like. So you get a super simple email in your inbox when it's ready. We'll tell you, here's the category, here's the trend, and then here's a quick summary of what you're going to see in this brief. So you can decide, like, do I want to take the time to look at this now before my meeting? Do I want to take a look at it later? And then you can go ahead and view the full brief. So what the brief looks like, jump back to Quid here. All right. So this is that brief on sensitive skin. So really similarly to what Ariana was just showing in the video analysis agent, and we're actually going to be incorporating a lot of those elements into this trend brief as well any day now. But we'll tell you, here's what's trending, here's that summary. We'll show you these posts from social so you can see exactly what's going on, how people are using it, visually what that looks like. And on the product side, when we were building this out and meeting with customers to understand, like, when you see a trend, what do you need to know? It's so visual that being able to highlight that and pull to the top, like really what is resonating with people, is something we want to put front and center for you. So you can see that content. You can always view more posts if you want. We'll show you these key metrics, the age group breakdown, how that's changed over time in more detail, more insight into those extracted entity categories. So people are really talking about K-beauty, they're talking about anti-aging. Maybe these are keywords that I want to have in my SEO strategy included there. Exact products, pure retinol, and then emotional concepts. So from this, you can really even go further, build a campaign, things that you might want. Then we'll also pull from the caption insights, so the content that's coming in related to this trend. What are people saying in the captions? And obviously people are talking about calming products, but also barrier first regimens. So again, things that I can use to take action on as a marketer of when I'm putting together content, when I'm deciding things for my site, when I'm thinking about positioning. Maybe I want to talk about barrier first. Maybe I want to talk about gentle anti-aging. Maybe I want a specific section specifically dedicated to not only K-beauty, because we know that's popular, but K-beauty specifically around sensitive skin, to be really on top of this trend here. So I know I just shared a lot, trying to be cognizant of time, but overall, trying to, oh, go here. Overall, what we're aiming to do with our trend leaderboard is to help you understand like what is trending in the world, like what is trending across the internet, across social. Let me narrow down to my specific category, my specific area of reach of interest. I only want things that are growing. I care really specifically about what's got high views and view changes in the last week. Like any way you want to cut it, go ahead. We'll do the scanning, find what you're interested in, and then let us do the work of generating that brief for you to make you more efficient in your next step. All right. And I think now I will pass it to Ariana to talk about MCP.
We've got, I think it's worth answering one of the questions in the webinar chat, Darren, before we hand it off to Ariana. I know we're a little bit over time here, but there's so much good stuff, and I'm glad that people are interacting with us. But the question was, are the trends based on organic posts only? Meaning, is it removing hashtag sponsored or hashtag ad posts, especially when it comes down to the product/brand layers?
Fabulous question. And we literally were talking about this internally yesterday, so
Yeah.
it's such a good time. Right now, we don't automatically remove ad content for you. We do make it really clear to see when there is ad content. So there's this hashtag ad right in here. So if you don't want that, scoop that out. Coming very soon will be a filter where you can just choose to keep it in or choose to filter it out. So if you're somebody saying, I don't want to see ads when there's dollars behind it, that's not a real trend for me, we'll take it out. Alternatively, if you're like, what are people putting money behind, or I put money behind something, is it showing up as a top 200 trend? Letting you be able to keep that in there too.
Awesome. Okay, I will take the share. And I'm really excited to show this. So we're actually going to be talking about kind of continuing with trends. We're going to be showing how you can connect Quid's data and everything that lives in Quid Terminal into whatever workspace you already might work in. So right now, we'll show that connector through Claude. This is Quid's MCP for anyone who's unfamiliar. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. I also don't find that explanation of the acronym that helpful. Basically, it's just a way for AI systems to be able to talk to each other. So we've built a Quid connector that you can connect to any enterprise AI chat system. So think things like Claude and OpenAI, Copilot, things like that. You'll see in my connectors here, I've got my Quid data turned on. This means that all of that data that Quid has set up for you in your terminal, you can chat to directly within an enterprise AI chat. So I'm going to be showing that through Claude today. I can ask questions in just plain English, and you'll see how Quid kind of pulls in those live signals from the data that is connected in your terminal. So here, talking about the trend leaderboard, I'm asking some questions. Okay, well, among that beauty trend leaderboard, what are the fastest accelerating hashtags? And I'm asking it to exclude things that are being driven by ads or specific creator names. And I'd also like to see how are those top movers split in different audiences. So I want to look at under 35 and over 35. And so it's telling me, okay, I'm going to pull the leaderboard, the beauty leaderboard trends for you. And it's giving me the fastest accelerating trends within the last 7 days. So, and then their share for the under 35 and over 35. So you can see how those kind of differ among different audiences. What's really important too here is that we built MCP on top of Terminal and the skills that we already have been showing you up until this point. So when you're chatting with data in your enterprise system and you're chatting to Quid's data, you're seeing these great visualizations come through. It's not just a data dump that you then have to parse through and figure out, how do I make sense of this? All of those great visualizations and ways that we've structured the data in Terminal, you're able to pull directly through into your enterprise AI chat. What's really great about an MCP connection is you can start layering information on above and beyond Quid's data. So this sort of is a supercharge to the Quid data that we're bringing in. And I'm saying, again, sticking with that role of being in marketing at Ulta, I want you to take the strongest accelerating trend that's showing up in both of those age groups and tell me, are we merchandising it? Go check Ulta's site, go to website, check the skincare landing pages, tell me if we're talking about that trend and where's the gap. And so it's able to say, okay, let's go with acne prone skin. It's reasoning with me why that would be the best one to check on for both of these age groups. It's going to Ulta's website and it's saying, okay, you've got a ton of acne products stocked, but you're barely featuring it. And so then it's starting to give me, here's what you do have on your homepage. You've got SPF, you've got anti-aging, glowing, K-beauty, SPF and glow. That probably makes sense at summertime. Maybe you're pushing for more of that summertime look. But if acne is organically growing, on socials, then that's a gap that's not being addressed. So then it's bringing in recommendations around how we could act on that data. And so I'm asking it to, okay, well, build me a campaign brief that Ulta could run to close that gap. I'm now combining those insights of what Quid is bringing with that social data, what my company is doing, and then how do I act on that information? And so it's turning sort of that insight into work with using Ulta's campaign voice. And it's sort of grounding the conversation in what those trends are, what those insights are able to be brought through from the trending leaderboard that Darren was just showing. And it's also giving me insight on how that should change based on how these audiences are talking about it in the data, right? 18 to 34, they're talking about acne different than in 35 plus. So how should you message those two things separately? How should those show up on the site? What should the language be around that? So, in just 3 questions, you can go from what's trending, where's the gap in the campaign, grounding that in live data, then bringing in your company contacts, asking it to go search other sources on the internet and integrate that with the full fire hose of data that Quid is bringing. So it's really using MCP connector, I always say, is the best of both worlds. Quid, again, we've got 2 petabytes of data coming through. We invest 10 million a year on our data partnership. So we have access to the data that these LLMs do not have. If you go in and ask a ChatGPT or Claude for information on what's trending in skincare, they're usually pulling from articles that have already been published, whereas we can go directly to the source. What they do have, right, is a billion-dollar reasoning model. So it's really the best of both worlds to bring in that full fire hose of data that's coming in, that's grounded in what consumers are saying, and combine it with that really powerful reasoning model. And so MCP is one of my favorite things that we have released lately. I think it shows how far the power of Quid data can go and also just puts insights in everyone's hands. We want to meet you where you work, democratize the way that insights are shared across the company. So I know we're getting right to time, but I get excited about this one, so wanted to walk through it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Ariana. And also just thanks so much to everyone who was in attendance and interacting with us. I saw that there were so many different questions that were coming in. And I know that we're a little bit, let's see, we're close to time here, but I think we have a little bit more. I did see that there were a number of questions from Mark and Darren. I saw that you answered them as well. I just wanted to make sure that for the rest of the group, they have an understanding and the right context around your response. So I'll re-ask the questions here, but the first was basically, what does requesting a custom trend detection look like? So I imagine it's not necessarily just the flow of what it looks like in the product itself, but more, what can we actually do if we want to be able to customize what that trend leaderboard looks like?
Yeah, so I love it, and we have quite a few custom trend leaderboards that we've set up with clients as well. So what we aim to do with the trend leaderboard is to pull like that ground level information that we want from TikTok, and then I think you as a brand know what you care more about. So if you're saying, I actually really need to know specifically what's trending in like shoelaces or like 3D printed shoes. And I don't want it to be from TikTok. I want it to be from TikTok and Pinterest, or I want it to ground in Pinterest. Like the different kind of customizations where we want to pull out the entities, we want to pull out the summarization, we want to do a lot of the weight extraction and insight generation that Quid can do on the data. We want to use Quid's data. We just want to aim it at our specific signal. Then that's where we can go ahead and set that up for you. So it's basically you reach out to your AM and they can help scope it. Totally depends on how complicated you want to be, but we've done some pretty fun stuff. So
Yeah,
lots of options there.
and very complicated stuff as well.
Yeah.
Just to follow up with Mark because he saw something about the MCP that piqued his interest. But are we able to retrieve data via MCP and load into other environments? So the example is they might want to be able to load them into their own bespoke AI chat apps. Is that something that would be possible?
Yeah. So we'd work with you to connect into what that looks like. Go ahead, Ariana.
Yeah, that's a great question. We do have scenarios where people are connecting to our Quid data to help power their own agents that they're building internally. And so that's a use case we're familiar with.
Awesome. All right. I know we have a number of other questions that we've also answered through chat. So, Ariana, I appreciate your diligence here, but I'm wondering whether other folks may also have similar questions to you here. There was one that was just answered, but in terms of the I saw it was from an anonymous attendee, and this one is interesting. It's somewhat novel compared to what we were talking about here. But could this tool be used to track trends in clinical research? And Ariana, I saw that you answered that. So if you want to expound on that a bit, or Darren, if you want to chime in on that as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we have multiple pharmaceutical clients where we do just that, track what's going on in the clinical research space. As Darren said, we're able to point our trend detection to that massive data lake that we're ingesting, which includes news media as well. So any coverage and discussion of clinical trials we bring in. For pharmaceutical, we typically point at news media, broadcast, podcast data, and then there's a lot of HCP activity on X that we bring in as well.
Awesome. All right. We are capturing all of these questions as well as the chat as well. If there's anything that we need to follow up with folks on, we'll be sure to do that. But I do realize that we're quite past what I promised earlier, which is roughly 30 minutes. But I hope that you all enjoyed the session today. And we do encourage you to take a look at our resources section. We have so much more in there that can help you to understand how we can help you with the different objectives that you may have in place. But until then, until our next webinar, which we'll be posting about soon, or our next report, which we'll be posting about soon, we hope you all have a great rest of your days. We thank you once again for joining us on our webinar today, and we'll see you all again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.